Hello everyone and welcome to Blue Tengu's live game development show where we show everything that goes into making a game from concept to completion. If you've ever wanted to make a game, we hope this will help lower the barrier to entry, maybe give you the nudge needed to try it yourself. Even if you don't want to make a game, we hope you'll find some entertainment value in what we're doing here. All of the information about where you can find us is in the Twitch info down below, or in our YouTube profile for those of you catching us later. But just in case, we're at www.bluetengu.com, btengu on Twitter, that's B like the letter B. Facebook.com Blue Tengu Studio, YouTube.com Blue Tengu Studio for those of you watching the live stream, and Twitch TV Blue Tengu for those of you watching us later on YouTube. If you've missed any episodes, you can always catch them over at the YouTube playlist, but you shouldn't have any trouble following along even if you haven't seen them before. For those of you who haven't seen this show on Twitch or YouTube before, my name's Eric. I'm a game designer living over here in Japan who's trying to show you everything that goes into making a game for about 2 hours a week, including all the ums and ahs and awkward debugging moments. Shouldn't have too many today, I hope. Should be relatively straightforward, more game design than actually implementing new features. The reason I'm showing it all, as opposed to making the game first and scripting out reverse tutorials, is because I do want to lower that barrier so many of us feel towards making a game, and I'm learning myself as well. And I hope inspire you to go out and try it yourself, or stick with it if you are already doing it. Thank you to everyone who dropped by last week, and to all of you who watch the video on YouTube later. For those of you here with me on Twitch, feel free to drop suggestions or ask questions at any time. May not be able to answer them right away because I am working, and if the chat gets going I may not be able to keep up. But I'll try to get to them, and if I can't, just send me a private message here, leave a comment on our site or YouTube video, or you can email me at eric@bluetengu.com, that's Eric with a C, and I'll do my best to address it next time. Just a note to those of you who do email me, usually during the weekdays it's harder for me to reply, so usually when it gets closer to Friday and maybe sometimes into the weekend, that's when I get through my queue of emails. If any of you are out there making something and you don't mind showing it off, send me a link to your stuff. I'd love to see it. And so at this time for every week for 2 hours and change, I come on to, whoa, reconnecting, okay. Well, I'm not sure if this is streaming or not because it's telling me it's reconnecting, so we'll see. At least in the video it'll show up. So at this time every week for 2 hours I come onto Twitch TV to work on the game Project Spaghetti for Season 1, which is a top-down 2D cowboy shooter where the bullets fired bounce around the screen with a pinball mechanic. And last week I added visual feedback for the day and night cycle in the game and transitioned from powering up enemies through their parameters to changing them out for tougher versions. So the player can understand what's happening, because if I just change their parameters, it's hard to see this enemy is actually harder than it was before. This week, it's time to dig into a different reach goal, one that viewer Pandabitz, who's here in the chat with me, suggested a few months back, a challenge stage which mixes different enemies and bumpers from different stages. So far I've been doing my best to design enemies to play nice with each other, even though they've never been in the same stage together, but there are bound to be a few things I haven't covered or thought about, like maybe what happens when a laser hits a ghost and things like that. So let's throw them all in the blender and see what comes out. And let's see. Drew Crazy 3 drops by and mentions to show the struggles are real. Yes, that is exactly why I'm doing this live and unscripted, unrehearsed, plunging into it. Because if you see me struggling, then you don't feel so bad. If you struggle yourself, it's just natural. If all you do is watch tutorials, it's like you start to get this kind of feeling like, man, these people, everyone knows what they're doing except for me, and that's not the case. It's just because everyone tried it out first, struggled with it, got it working, and then, you know, obviously to save you time, which is what they're doing, rather than me, which is flubbing around a lot, but to save you time, what they'll do is rehearse everything and squish it together. So what took them maybe 2 hours to get worked out the first time, they just get all the main points in and show it to you in 15 minutes. But, you know, they struggled, everyone struggles, so that's part of the thing. And Pandabitz mentions with the OBS thing, maybe it was Twitch, looks like it was Twitch, yeah, it did say reconnecting, so it was probably just the Twitch server I was using, I think, not unless it affected everyone. But let's get over to the task list, which I keep over at Trello.com. Jump to the desktop here, and welcome Drew Crazy 3, by the way. Hope you enjoy the show. Let's see. Okay, so Trello. If you look for, well, if you throw Trello and Project Spaghetti into a search engine, this is probably what's going to pop up. But I do throw a link into the YouTube videos, and if you can kind of see it up there, all you have to do is copy and paste that in to a browser, and you can come over here. I don't think you can comment directly on the cards, but you can vote on them, because I think Pandabitz has done that before. I think Pandabitz is the one that voted on this one. And this is episode 41, so there's a crazy challenge mode puzzle room. That's going to be this episode. But before I do that, let's show what I kind of did between last week and this week. Oh yes, and Pandabitz mentioned, standard note to people who may be watching a blank screen, remember to refresh the page. Yes, that does happen in Twitch quite a bit. Unfortunately, you're going to get another advertisement. If you're here in Japan with me, then the advertisement is people laughing and playing, which, even though I have the mute setting on, does not work for advertising. So usually when I'm setting up the show, just suddenly people start laughing in the background. It is not me, going on a water slide or something and laughing and playing. It is other people. I don't have that much fun in this room. So overtime. Let's see. Well, I did remove the super shot system. Coffee's not kicking in yet. What that was it was kind of an active reload system. If you know Gears of War, you kind of time the shot to get a more powerful version of the shot, or a better reload in that case. But the super shot was basically, if you timed it right, you could instantly fire off like a bullet that was more powerful than other bullets. It wasn't working because long after implementing that mechanic, we kind of implemented a charge mechanic, which allows you to kind of charge your gun up. So it wasn't really playing nice with that, and it was kind of a vague system for the user. It's like, why is this bullet suddenly like red? Didn't make much sense. I also went through and polished up a bunch of the backgrounds and the skies and suns and moons, but I can show you all of that. And one thing that I noticed when I was just kind of play testing it was that the time up, the day and night cycle, when the sun or the moon goes all the way down, the game's over. If you get to a point, time it right. If you get to a point where all the enemies are dead, and all that's left is collecting the remaining coins in the room before moving to the next level, it could theoretically time up right there, which just isn't friendly for the player. It kind of makes sense, but it just wouldn't be friendly for the player, so I stopped that. Basically stopped that whole time progression if all the enemies are dead. And also the sun and the moon, before I was dropping them using like fractions of pixels and stuff like that, and I guess in GameMaker, when you don't use whole pixels, if you try to use fractions, tries to do things for you which are not very good, so it looks kind of blurry and it looks like it shimmies basically if you do that in GameMaker. So what I did was, rather than incrementing by like 0.0 whatever per frame, the Y coordinate, to make the sun sink down, just made it so that there was a timer that every time it had to go down a pixel, it would call that timer, move it down a pixel, and then reset the timer. Looks a lot better. And also, enemies flash before changing types. So far, the only enemies that change types, because I don't have the more powerful versions of other enemies, are the Cowboys, but now they flash a little bit before they change color, so it's not just like the player looks and it's like, wait a minute, where'd all the red enemies go? Now they're all green. You can kind of see what's happening. So that was the overtime, but I'll show you the game right now. But this week, it's going to be crazy challenge mode puzzle rooms. And from the episode 19 video, the comment was, wonder how crazy it could get if there was a little challenge mode where the screen's about 30% cacti and the enemies are ghosts. And talking with Pandabitz just now, you could have pretty much just cacti ringing the whole thing, except for maybe one entrance for the ghosts. So that if you have to hit that bell to get the ghosts to attack you, which I'll show you. But if it bounces off that bell, it's going to hit the cacti, which right now fire off bullets, which would trigger other cacti, and it would make a bullet hell game. So that's the inspiration for the crazy challenge puzzle mode rooms. First task is going to be to actually get the enemies to play nice together. But before I do that, I should show you the game itself. Hopefully, GameMaker does work here. Yes, Andrew Crazy mentions, once you're done explaining what you did in previous episodes, I'd like to see the game's progress, and that's exactly what we're going to do here with GameMaker Studio, which is what we're using to make this game. Did have an update in GameMaker Studio last week, which caused lots of problems. Well, for example, like when I fired up the game a couple of days ago, it just wouldn't work. It didn't even, like, the window didn't even appear, and it's like, oh. Even went back to old projects and stuff like that, and it wasn't working, so I thought, uh-oh, GameMaker just, like, broke my project or something with the upgrade. Well, it did break the project, but there was a fix. So I don't know if any of you are out there working in GameMaker, but if you've upgraded to 1.4.1567 and your game doesn't start up, here's probably why. If the last line is something about audio, like audio channels 200 initialized or something like that, then it's probably the same problem I ran into, which is something happened in the audio conversion. And what happens is, whatever happened with those audio files, no matter what project you go to, if they're using those audio files, it's broken. So even if you go back to an old project, it's still broken. Even if you clean the cache out manually, whatever, it's just broken. So what you have to do is go over here to sounds. Like if you have, it only seemed to do it with MP3 files. What were originally MP3 files and converted to OGG files. So what I did was just basically deleted all of these, added them again, and then it worked. Okay, so that's a weird GameMaker problem. There's also other problems I'm running into with the new version. Did actually post some bugs on the GameMaker site, see if they'll get back to me. But there's a bunch of crazy things like objects not initializing in time anymore. You'll notice when I first start up the game that it first appears really large and then the surface corrects itself. It never did that before. Lots of fun. Let's hope it works. Here we go. Click and pray. And Drew Crazy mentions my GameMaker won't let me close it. Oh, wow. That would be frustrating. That'd be quite frightening, too. If it doesn't close normally, it's like, did it save my progress or not? Yeah, GameMaker does it. Obviously, it doesn't have the gigantic engineering crew that Unity or Unreal have working on it. So it's a smaller operation. It's going to have a lot of problems. I try to be nice because it is a good program. But yeah, it can have problems. But let's show you the game. Let's get into it. So there's one change. The sun now has a face. Winks once in a while. And this is just the tutorial. So the sun won't start going down until all of the enemies are on the screen. Well, there we go. Yeah, here's an example of a GameMaker problem that now happens with the new version. It gives a lot of like these undefined errors. And what it is, for example, even though the player and the enemy are in the room and they're supposed to be there, for some reason it's not recognizing them anymore. So it's just a GameMaker bug. The only workaround you can really do is to just, even though you know the object is there, even though you know it's been initialized, is to just do a check. Instance exists. Does this object exist? It's a hassle to do that every single time you want to use an object, but that's kind of the way it goes. Let's see if we can just skip this. But if the next version of GameMaker doesn't fix that, I'm just going to have to go in and add all of that stuff. So here's the game itself. The bullets bounce off like edges and obstacles with a pinball kind of mechanic. If you've ever played the old game Mr. D, let me give myself invincibility because I'm chatting and I'm not paying attention to the game itself. But if you've ever played the old game Mr. D, you kind of know the thing. It's the bullet bouncing off. And now that the sun's upset, you can tell it's going down, so the face kind of tells you that the sun's about to go down. The enemies have powered up there. They probably flashed. I wasn't paying attention because I'm chatting. And the other thing is that, like, the bullets, as they kind of bounce around, they change colors. They're getting faster, and they're worth more points when they hit the enemy. So if you're going for a high score, the best thing to do is to try and either charge your bullets up, or well, that's interesting. Now the charge particle's not working either. Another GameMaker bug. Man, I hate this version. I kind of wish I could downgrade back to the old one. There's a lot of problems with GameMaker now. But there we go. But the goal is to get your bullets up to like the red color or the exploding color because you can get more points out of it. It's more dangerous for you because there's more bullets flying around the screen. And let's see. This is kind of what we were talking about with the ghosts and the bell, chatting with Pandabitz about it too. With this level, even if you shoot the ghosts, your bullets just go through them. They freeze for a little bit, but that's all it does. You have to hit the bell to get them upset and chasing you, and that's the only way you can actually kill them. And as you can see, I have replaced all of the backgrounds too. The graveyard level, this level. With the desert level, it's the scorpions. If you shoot them in the face, it just bounces off and they get pissed and charge at you, so you have to hit them in the back. These are the cacti we were talking about. If you shoot them, they kind of fire out these bullets, so you kind of have to use a combination of them and bouncing the bullets off of the screen to kill the scorpions. That's this level. And let me jump ahead. Obviously, this background changed. Upgraded graphics here. Now I've got a moon with a cool face. Couldn't really see that in the graveyard level. I have to fix that. With the aliens, they're shielded, but if they hit themselves with a laser, their shield goes down for a little bit, which gives you a chance to shoot them. If you shoot them when they have the shield up, it doesn't do anything. And let's see, level 5. Here's the Christmas level. I'm working on the graphics right now, so this is still the old, kind of placeholder, random, like, snowy hill there. With the snowmen, if you shoot them anywhere but the face, they just get faster. If you do get a headshot, if I can pull one off, they get faster, but then they don't know where you are, so they just move randomly. And again, like the Christmas trees, kind of do like the cacti did, where they fire off, shards. So you can use that to your advantage too, because the snowmen take a lot of bullets to take down. Right now I have unlimited ammo, so it seems fine, but if you don't, you're going to have to get like the bullet bouncing off the tree kind of back and forth to kind of get a trap for the snowmen going. And this is back to the town for a boss. Basically a giant version of the bad cowboy. At first the boss seems to be the same, but it always ducks your bullets. The only time you can actually hit the boss is if it's a few seconds within when he tries to fire at you. Like that. And as he takes more damage, he starts to flash and his attacks get harder. So he starts to fire off exploding bullets, things like that. Obviously I've got unlimited ammo and lives going on right now because I'm cheating. But if you're not cheating, this boss fight is quite challenging. I managed to beat it a couple of times, but obviously if I had this many bullets running around, I'd probably kill myself first. With the current time limit, I did reset the time limit, so now it's about a minute and a half before the stage ends. Like, if that sun goes all the way down, it just means game over. So there we go, and here's where we'll start putting in challenge rooms. And let's see, I should catch up to the chat here. Sorry to leave you guys alone so long. Wonder why. You're crazy, by the way. Do you know why your GameMaker won't close? Like, did it start happening with a certain version, or was it just always that way? Because I haven't had that problem too often. I have had it happen where it's like I close it and it's like nothing happens and I freak out. But it doesn't happen every time, at least in my case. And let's see, Coppa Spaghetti. yeah, the Coppa face. Yeah. It's kind of a double thing. It's a nod to Twitch as well as one of the characters in the animated short, which I'll show about an hour into the show, just the crazy RPG Maker thing that I do just to kind of cover my breaks. There was a character that works at Ninja Coppa Pizza and delivers pizzas and stuff, so it's also kind of a nod to that. Because there was no pizza back in the Wild West, I don't think, so I just went with spaghetti. But yeah, it's also not to Twitch. Andrew Crazy mentioned ran out of ideas on my game. Still only on the first level, but I guess like I always tell people as well, if you are working on something and you don't mind showing it off, you can throw a link in the Twitch feed. I absolutely don't mind, and so far when anyone's thrown a link in there, I've always kind of wandered off to it and played it for a little bit. It's kind of a distraction, but it's fun. And let's see, Pandabitz, you like the desert level? Oh, thank you. Yeah, I did update most of those graphics. The graveyard, I need to get rid of that gate because you can't see the moon in the background. But I think other than that, it's not too bad. Christmas level, let me give you a sneak preview of that, by the way, since I'm working on it as we speak. The reason I'm not showing this live is just because there's not a whole lot of point, because you guys have seen me working in Photoshop before and doing pixel art and stuff, so I want to show you the stuff that's kind of new as opposed to stuff that you've seen before. Here's what it will. Alright, yep. Don't need updater because this version is not being updated anymore. But here's where I am so far. Obviously it's not done, so I just need to keep working with that. There's a preview. And Drew Crazy mentioned very cool and retro. Thank you. Appreciate that. I am going for the retro thing. If you've seen the show before, you know I'm kind of using the Commodore 64 palette because, well, Jim Orient dropped by. The reason I know about the Commodore 64, I guess, Jim, played it a lot as a kid. And kind of want to keep that retro style and kind of a love letter to the Commodore 64, so I'm trying to keep to that palette, even if I'm using effects and sounds and things like that would have never been possible on the Commodore 64. But hey, Jim, thank you for dropping by. And Drew Crazy mentioned I've been using GameMaker for a while offline, but when I got my internet back up, it updated straight to the latest one. Well, welcome to the wonderful world of 1.4.1567, which does not seem to work very well at all. I'm right in there with you. There's a lot of issues with it, I think. Funny, I don't see a lot of people talking about them, so I don't know. Maybe they're just getting into the issues now. It is still a new update, but there's definitely a lot of problems, as you can see. So let's get into it. Crazy puzzle rooms. Talking about it with Pandabitz. One of the first puzzle rooms we could do is the one we were talking about with, let's see, let's make a new room. Let's call it challenge. And let's throw a number on it. Let's see, for the background, if it's going to be ghosts, well, if it's going to be cacti, I think the desert makes sense. So let's see, sky and day. Well, let's try night. That'd be kind of an interesting combination if this works. I think this is alright. This needs to change out. Let's get rid of this. And where is it? Oh, it's an object. That's right. I have to bring it in as an object now because to do the sun sinking down behind stuff, I had to split the backgrounds up, which is why they're all kind of split out here. So let's see, desert buildings. Let's pop those out there. Actually, I should do this properly. Let's go 0, 0. All right. Get it in its proper place. Whoops. That's right. I have to shift it off to the right there. So 24. Just so I have room for enemies to come onto the screen. And so it's kind of an interesting night version of the level. I do need to replace the sun with a moon because it is night. Background, moon. Get my moon with the sunglasses. If you've ever seen the old McDonald's ads with Mac Tonight, you probably know why. For some reason, I have an image of a moon with sunglasses in my head. Let's see, 160 plus 24, 184 to get it in the middle, and then 24 from the top. There we go. And let's put this back in its place. Okay, so there's at least the look of the desert level. All of these node things that you see are kind of hard to... Well, let's get that out of the way so I can work with these things. I forgot the shortcut for actually grabbing these things behind an object, so I'm just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. Oh, okay. Pandabitz says, if you want to mix and match with the challenge rooms, it would be OJ, he said, but okay, yeah. Yes. Let's see, nodes. To explain what this map means, I don't actually put barrels, cacti, whatever down. I put nodes down and replace those with the actual objects later. That way it gives me more flexibility to kind of change my mind later if I want to. So let's ring the room with these obstacle nodes. Let's see, that might be about right. Let's just ring it with them because the goal is to make something like this. Bust out my paintbrush skills. I would prefer something that doesn't require me to do too much, is to kind of ring the room with cacti like this. Obviously this is a little distorted, so I don't have to draw a million circles. Something like this, where the entire room is basically filled with cacti, and I have to do it at the top too, so otherwise the player can cheat. And then just one bell in the middle. And then ghosts start streaming in from here, basically. Well, alright, white's not going to work. There we go. And ghosts start streaming in from here. As you saw just now, you have to hit the bell to actually kill ghosts. The problem is, if you do hit the bell, the bullet's going to come bouncing off of that, hit a cacti, which is going to start shooting. And then when that shoots, it's going to hit another cacti, which starts shooting, which hits and shoots and shoots and shoots, and basically creates an unwinnable room. So this is kind of a puzzle, because what you would have to do, hint, is basically shoot the bell and let the bullet hit you before it manages to get to one of these cacti, get up, and then start shooting the ghosts. And rinse and repeat. We'll see if it works or not, though. I should probably be actually doing this a little more calculated, but I'll just do it by feel for now. It's going to be a ton of obstacles in here. Let's move these out a little bit here. These are enemy move nodes. So these are the places where the ghosts can move. So I need to move those to the middle a little more. Okay, there we go. And by the way, the blue ones are where the pickups start to appear. So I don't have to worry about moving those too much. This is pretty sloppy, but I just want to see if it works. Let's get it rough for now. And for the entrance, this is the only spot where I kind of have to give some flexibility for the ghost to actually come into the room. Whoa, that would be a gigantic node. No, let's not do that. Didn't even know I could do that. It would just get replaced with the graphic anyway, so I don't think it would mean anything, but let's get some things like this, just to make sure the ghost can kind of navigate out of there. And let's see, Drew Crazy mentions, what are you doing in Japan? And he lives there, and Drew Crazy says he doesn't look local. No, I am not Japanese, but I am in Japan. I basically work over here. Ever since kind of leaving college, I came over here as originally a programmer. After that, went into the game industry over here. Started out in localization, then went, because I can do like Japanese to English translation or whatever, but went from localization to kind of scenario, and then from there into actual game design, because I did have that programming background, so it made kind of sense for me to help teams out with game design because I could do it. And I've always loved games, so that's what I wanted to do, because the problem with translating is it's always someone else's words that you're translating into English, for example, which means you don't really get to throw your ideas out there, and I'm the kind of person that wants to throw my ideas into stuff. So there we go. That's why I guess I ended up where I am. And so that's what I do over here in Japan. Let's see, I'm sure the next question that's going to appear is why Japan? Let's see if it shows up. I'll wait and see if it shows up, because I do have an answer to that. Let's fill this with move nodes so the ghosts have plenty of places to move around. And oh yes, I need more obstacle nodes actually. I need obstacle nodes at the top too, because otherwise the player can cheat. If they have a place where they can bounce the bullet off the bell and it hits something that's not a cactus, then they could just stand there, shoot, and exploit that basically. And we don't want to let the player cheat, so I'm gonna have to ring the top with cacti as well. But yeah, to kind of go into it, I guess originally, I always liked computers because I liked games. So when I did do, programming, like a computer science degree, the reason I was into programming in the first place was because of games and stuff like that, BBSs and games and, that the fun part of it. But with like programming, I ended up learning a lot of the non-fun parts of it because back when I was, I've talked with a lot of people after GDC about this kind of thing, but back when I was a student, which isn't that long ago, I don't think, it's getting longer, but when I was a student, there weren't really any like college game programs like they have now. So your only choice was really to kind of go into computer science. Problem with that was, all the teachers who teach computer science usually came from math backgrounds or business backgrounds, something like that. And so what they teach is databases and, web-based Java ordering systems and things like that. It's like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine, but not really why I liked computers. So I kind of fell out of, computer science. I was a programmer for a while, but it just wasn't my thing. Just programming business applications, that was not my thing at all. This is my thing. Let's make sure that's actually there where you can see it. Let's move the ground in, and one more thing we have to do is, this is where enemies can spawn in from the outside, so we need to get rid of these ones where they can't come into the room. Boom, boom, boom. I'd actually be curious if any of you out there had kind of a similar experience with computer science and learning to program and stuff like that. Starting out liking programming and then just something that kind of got you out of it. Be interesting. Let's see, 220. Where do I need to put this? 24. I don't think it was 40. I think it was 70. There we go. I remember these numbers just to get it placed right. So this is room challenge 1. Let's see which level it is. It's after the boss level. So there we go. Okay. Well, that looks awesome. It does kind of work. I don't know if the ghost is going to be able to squeeze through there. Alright, it did. The ghost did squeeze through there. And I'm going to need a bell. Well, here we go with that awesome air again. GameMaker version 1.4.1567. It's so annoying. Yes, once again, these object initialization things that suddenly sprang up with this version. Well, let's get the bell in there. Let's see. In this case, maybe it's better to actually throw the bell right into the room. Alright, there we go. Could even have 2 bells, really. Well, no, if you have, unless you can stagger it, I guess, that'd be the thing. Stagger it to make sure that players can't hit both. Alright. Let's see what happens. Hopefully I don't have that object initialization error. I have no idea what causes that. It's just popping up everywhere sometimes. Just kind of have to live with it, hoping that GameMaker's working on the problem, hoping that GameMaker's aware of the problem. They might not be. Alright, well, looks like I have to find a way around this because it's just popping up every time. So in script enemy spawn line 9. Okay. Script enemy spawn line 9. Let's see if we can work our way around it here. Line 9, instance create. Yeah, alright. So see, here's the thing. There are definitely enemy nodes, obviously. Because if you look at the room, let me show you why this is a bug, for example. There is an enemy node there. It is in the room. It should exist. The problem is, instance find, enemy node. Node count, -1. Well, alright. Yeah, let's see, I random range 1 to 0. It might just be this. Let's just try this out. Let's get rid of the -1. Let's see if this will at least bypass that error. Before it would work, but maybe it's just going out of range here. 7. No. Alright, yeah, I just have to work around the problem. Alright, scripts, enemy spawn. So what I'm going to have to do is, even though I know there's an enemy node in the room, even though I know that, what I have to do is check if instance exists. Well, let's see. Do I do it that way? Yeah, I kind of have to do it that way too, but let's just try this first. If spawn node is not equal to no one, in other words, if it found a spawn node, if it has an ID, then do this stuff. Unfortunately, if that first part doesn't work, none of this is going to work, so we have to put all of that inside of an if. Let's see what that does. And Pandabitz mentions, hey, it's the troops' lives, not your own. Yeah, if I'm a general, I guess. I guess that's one easy way to kind of get out of worrying about it too much. Okay, and then now I have to worry about that out of range error. So here we go. Let's see. Instance number, enemy node. So this should get me 1. Let's just for this room, just to get it working. Let's try that. Boom. Hopefully it finds that. We'll find out. Obviously no ghosts are coming out, so it's probably not working. Alright, let's see if we can find some workarounds here. Let's try popping down another enemy node. I could swear it worked once, right? You guys saw it work once. Ghosts were appearing until it crashed. Let's see if I can force 2 enemy nodes into this room. I wonder if it's having problems because they're outside of the view or something weird like that. I don't know. That would be interesting. Let's move this back to where it was so I don't screw up all the other rooms. And put that back to -1. And see what happens. Oh yes, Pandabitz mentioned the score numbers are going to need a different color because they blend into the background. Yeah, it's a night stage, so I have to do that. Let's do that. Ghost appeared for half a second there before I closed the window, so I think I got it working. Day and night, because the sky colors are different, I have to actually specify that somewhere. Let's see if I can remember where. I think it's in Room Manager. Room Manager. Let's see. Room Start. I think it's in the Room Start here. Room Colors. So if it's a night stage, I swap the text colors out for white. So snow stage. So like for the alien stage or the snow stage, they need different colors. So I make special cases. And this should be like that. Alright, this should work. I don't think I'm doing anything else. That should actually make that text white. Thank you for noting that, Pandabitz, because I'm so used to the game that I kind of blocked that out. I probably would have noticed it like months later or something. There we go. Although that's not very good. Yeah, there's a white skull right in the middle of the text. That's not very good. But alright, let's see. We've got a ghost here. Let's see if they can get out of that maze. Yeah, it looks like they can navigate through it. Alright, so let's assume that I don't do the technique of bouncing the bullet into myself and taking it for the team. Let's find out what happens. I imagine all these spawning bullets are going to cause problems. Oh, wow. Alright, nice reflection job. Let's do it over here. Okay. Well, here we go. There's one problem. Like, well, over here on the Trello task list, going back here. Crazy challenge puzzle mode rooms. The task for today was to get it working. The reason I expected that things wouldn't work is because I've never actually used these different elements in the same room before. So for example, cactus bullet. When a cactus bullet hits the object bell, right now inside of the bell code, there is something that detects how fast the bullet is going. Let's get rid of this since I know what it is. Get a circle. For example, if it's just a regular bullet that crashes into the bell rings for a certain amount of time. If you can get like a red bullet, like one of the super fast bullets to go crashing into the bell, it rings longer. So when a cactus bullet hits the bell, it's looking for how powerful that cactus bullet is, but the cactus bullet doesn't have a power setting. It's just, one solid, bounce number. So there's an example of something where I'm going to have to go into the bell and do something for that. So what I could do, for example, is do a collision event with the cactus bullet. Actors, cactus bullet. And I should do it for the tree bullet too, the Christmas tree bullet, because it's the same situation. So right now it's the same as just the regular bullet, but I can't adjust the alarm based on the speed. So I need to get rid of all of this. Basically, I just need to do this instead. So instead of that, I just need to set alarm 0 to this. And bell duration is ring duration. So I don't need that variable. Okay, that should work, because there's no bullet speeds for cactus bullets or tree bullets. Let's see what happens. Let's do it before the ghosts show up. Yeah, good luck surviving that. It works. Okay. So, there are probably safe spots. If you knew where they were, you could probably exploit that. The only problem is the ghosts are going to be coming after you. Good thing, I guess, is if you do find a safe spot, because the cactus bullets are going to be hitting the bell and causing it to ring, the ghosts are probably going to die as well. So, let's see if we can find a safe spot. Actually, strangely, it might be the safest to be like right in front of one of these cactus. Let me use the keyboard so I can get right there. Alright, well that was very safe. So as you can see, it is a puzzle. It's kind of fun, actually, even for me, because I don't know how to solve it yet. Obviously, the solution we talked about with Pandabitz is you could hit the bell, let the bullet hit you, and then get up, shoot a ghost, and kind of rinse and repeat doing that. Oh, well, that worked. Yes! That worked. Okay. Not bad, not bad. What do you think, Pandabitz? Alright, and you mentioned that the top corner might be safe, so let's try getting up there. And let's see what happens here. I don't think it'll be safe because the cacti can fire diagonally as well as horizontally and vertically. But we'll find out. I guess the whole goal is to out-survive the ghosts, so as long as you can pull that off, it's worth it. Let's see. Probably have some kind of bug going on here where I'm stuck. So I have to worry about that. But there we go. There's one example of a combination between enemies. Just so I remember to do it, I'm going to have to come into this room and say, adjust the cacti. Cactus room. Because right now the player can try to move into those spots where the cacti are kind of blocking, and it causes problems with the movement, so... Special case. I'm going to need to make a special case for player movement in a room like that. That might actually take more than half an hour, so let's add that task. But that's something for the future. And Jamorian mentions that was great, and Pandabitz said, bam, it works. Yes, thank you, Pandabitz, for the idea. That was awesome. It's nice to actually even have fun with your own game once in a while. Although, to be honest, with Project Spaghetti, I have pretty much fun every time I jump in here. Let's try another room. What other combinations are there? Throw out a combination, we could try it. You guys give me an idea and we'll see. If you've seen the game before, you know what there are. You have barrels. They don't really do anything. Barrels, tombstones, presents, and skulls don't do anything. Just to let you know, they're just basic bumpers, so the bullets bounce off of them. The things that do things are bells, upset ghosts, obviously, cacti and Christmas trees. If you hit them, they fire off bullets. Crystals only work with lasers, so it would only make sense in a level with aliens. And Pandabitz mentions scorpions and aliens. Okay, scorpions and aliens in the same level. That's actually a really good combination because I'm not sure if scorpions work with lasers or not. So let's make that the next one. RM challenge 02. I should probably duplicate an easier room than this one. Yeah, let's not duplicate that one because that's going to be a lot of stuff to delete. Let's duplicate. Let's see. Which one would make more sense? Probably in the desert again. Well, let's copy the night level. Let's do this one and have scorpions show up here. Because it kind of makes sense, you know, giant scorpions, 50s sci-fi movies. Having them in here kind of works. Let's do that. Keep the bumpers as they are for now. Well, let's move them around. Have a little fun with it. And throw on an extra one there. Bumper nodes, obstacle node. Throw an extra one in here. These blue ones are where the pickups show up, just as a reminder. Okay. Alright, let's bring this back in. So 24 by 70. There we go. So that's challenge 2. Let's move that into place here. And let's add that one in. So at least now I know where to add all these things, since I've done it once. Challenge 2. Music's the same, since I'm not adding any levels. And enemy spawn array. So let's take the alien one as a base. Let's take this one as a base. And that is level 8. So let's throw an alien out first. No, let's throw a scorpion out first. throw out 3 scorpions and alien, maybe throw in an extra alien too. It's going to be a bit sing-songy because there's each enemy type's kind of coming out one after the other. But let's find out what happens. It is a night level, so I need to change the day-night stuff. Do that here. It's basically another alien stage. Alien and scorpion stage, and that's a night level. Okay, I think that's all I need to do. I do need to change the bumpers. Let's see. Let's count the bumpers. There's 4 in there. I need to have crystals, because otherwise there's no way to kill the aliens. Where am I? Yeah, there we go. Bumper array. And 8. Okay, so I need crystal, cactus, crystal, cactus. Let's try a mix. Because, you know, what happens if a laser hits a cactus? I guess it'd be interesting to find that out as well. I don't think it's going to work. We'll see. We'll see. And Pandabitz mentions 10 scorpions and 2 aliens. Alright, we'll try that. We'll try that next. Okay, so we've got the scorpion coming out. But as you can see, you know, going back to that script enemy create, adding that instance check, you know, making sure that the instance exists before using it. You just kind of have to do that everywhere now with 1.4.1567 because for some reason it's just not timing things right. I guess this cactus is a little too far to the left, so that poor scorpion's getting stuck on it. It looks like they're playing nice together. Yeah, the lasers are burning right through the scorpions, so like Pandabitz said, 10 scorpions might actually work on a level like this because they're very vulnerable to lasers, as scorpions are, I guess. So let's add some more scorpions here. So you would actually be well advised to the aliens out first. Now let's stagger them a little bit. You would actually be advised in this level to not kill the aliens because they can help get rid of those scorpions for you. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's get 10 like Pandabitz said. Alright. 2 aliens, 10 scorpions, we're doing it. 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, 11, 11. So a total of 12 enemies. 12, okay, and I don't need them to come out 2 seconds apart because they're not that. It's not that critical. Let's see, 3, 2, 2. From here, let's start making the scorpions come out a little faster. Give a little bit of a break. Give a bigger break, and bring up the last 2. Okay, this should be an okay pattern. I don't want just a constant stream of them to come out because that would kill the player real quick. And actually, I should probably, well, let's actually move that out of the way first. This thing's kind of blocking the scorpions, so let's not put it right there. Let's move it over a little bit here. Okay. And actually, let's change one of those out. No, let's keep them. Let's keep 2 crystals for now. The only thing I'm worried about is if there's too many crystals, the aliens can end up killing each other. But let's see how it goes first. Ah, there's that black line again. Yeah, there's not supposed to be a black line there. I probably misadjusted the pixels there. So we've got the two aliens now. It's just going to be a steady stream of scorpions. So if you don't handle them soon enough, you're just going to end up with a full screen of them. But when the aliens start firing lasers, they're going to hit a lot of stuff. So just try to dodge as much as possible. Try to stay in front of the aliens so that they do decide to shoot you. Interesting. For some reason, the player getting up is not doing what he used to do. Because if you know from before, that when the player used to get up, he'd be able to move around. For some reason now, let me try something here. Invincibility. No? I guess it only happens in some cases. Interesting. There's something going on where the player, after taking damage, is not able to move again. So there's something going on with an alarm, probably another version thing, because it never did that before. Haven't changed anything with it. But there you go. You can either try to use your bullet bouncing to get the scorpions. Obviously, if you want the maximum number of points, you're going to want to charge your bullet and get that working. Wow, so many things not working with this new version. I so want to downgrade so bad. I should have kept a copy of the old version. This is pretty bad. Yeah, because there used to be particles on the gun that would show up that would you know, show you what color your bullet was as it was spawning, but that doesn't happen anymore. Okay, and the laser doesn't cause the cactus to do anything. So let's think about that one. Let's see. Pandabitz, could you make it so that the player doesn't have a bullet during the challenge level so that what activates the cacti and crystals is the alien? Yeah, that's possible. Taking away the player's bullets? That's definitely a possibility. Let's see. Is there an easy way to do that? Yeah, I don't know. So I'd have to do a couple of things. I would have to tell it to turn off the pickup timer so that no pickups were coming into the room so that the player couldn't get bullets. The other way I could do it, I guess, is to turn off the bullet UI. Well, that would take a couple of steps. Turn off the bullet UI, the thing in the upper left corner that's kind of showing the number of bullets you have left. Turn off the ability to shoot. Turn off pickups. So those are the three things I'd have to do for that. Let me put that in the task list here. So no bullet stage option. It probably won't take a whole hour, but just keep it there. Just as a reminder to myself. And yeah, Pandabitz mentioned that way you need to rely on manipulating the aliens rather than shooting around stuff. That could be the way to go about it. Be an interesting challenge room, because if you know you don't have bullets and you've got scorpions streaming in, you have to keep the aliens kind of standing in front of them, you know, because as the AI works now, if there's an enemy between you and the alien, they don't fire, so you have to kind of stand right in front of the alien, tempting them to shoot you, and then as soon as they start firing, kind of run away or duck. What do you think about the cactus? If a laser hits a cactus, should it be firing out bullets? Well, I'll leave you with that question. I'll think about it myself too. If you do have a preference, we'll think about that. Seems like it would make sense for the cacti to fire off their usual bullets, like when you hit them with a bullet. That's what I'm thinking anyway, but we'll see. Oh yeah, let's test the cacti to make sure the lasers are actually going to activate those bullets. Yeah, Uncrusher, I'm sorry about the crackling problem. That's too bad because LMMS is fun to work with. One thing I do, just for any of you out there that are using LMMS with plugins, especially VST plugins. One thing that always happens to me with LMMS is it crashes while using those plugins. Whoops. Oh, that's what I get for not paying attention. It always crashes when I use like VST plugins. The solution I found is on a forum somewhere. Someone mentioned it, so that's where I got the solution. But keep the music playing while you're making like edits in plugins and stuff like that, because playback mode is okay. It's just editing mode where VST plugins crash all over the place. And in LMMS, if it crashes, it just loses everything from the last save, so you definitely don't want that happening. Try to get one of these things to... Wow, nice shot. Looks like it's still going through the cactus, so I think I need to modify the laser code itself here. I think that's draw laser. So I need something to have it actually interact with. Yes, here we go. Because when it interacts with when it bumps into a crystal, it actually does something. So what I need to do is actually have it interact with just bumpers in general, I guess. The only thing I don't have to worry about with just generic bumpers is I don't have to worry about which alien is firing the laser, so that should all be okay. Because the laser spot's the thing that actually causes the collision, so up until now the laser was just shooting right through the cactus. Now it should actually drop collision at the cactus and actually cause the cactus to fire stuff out. Oh, clicked off screen. Trying to be clever and kill the scorpion ahead of time, but that's what I get for trying to be clever. Hopefully I can survive. Alright, got my health item. See, there we go. I'm frozen again. That's definitely weird. Not sure why that's happening now. Let's make myself invincible, because the point is not to play this game and actually like win. It's more to check the cacti and make sure that they're firing. So if I can get one of these aliens to do its job here, let's actually let the scorpions run into me so I can clear the room up a bit. There we go. Let's clean out the scorpions. It interacted with the cactus. I'm just not sure if it's putting out too many collision events. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that seemed okay. And where is this happening? Alien. Here's another interaction that I hadn't planned in advance. Is my stream working, by the way, guys? I hope it is. Yeah, I asked the question in chat just to make sure, because I don't know, like on my side it's just saying video loading. I guess I have to reset it. Alright. As you can see, chatting there. There's the chat window. Yeah, okay, so it's working for you guys. It's just because I haven't reloaded it. And I don't want to reload it because then I'll lose like the chat, and it'll probably play that crazy advertisement again, so. Alright. Yeah, Bone Crusher, it's worth yeah, reloading to get past that whole loading video thing. So aliens. Aliens, like the bell, they're expecting the bullets that hit them to have a bounce value. So, guess I need to check the alien here. So it does have a bullet interaction, but what I need to do is create one specifically for cactus bullets and Christmas tree bullets. So good thing I did have the cacti like firing off, because then it's one more interaction I can get working properly. And collision actors, tree bullets. Copy all that over. Alright, well I shouldn't have copied it over before fixing it, so let's ignore that for now. I think what's causing the problem is the score. So when a bullet hits the alien, it's trying to figure out the score based on the number of bounces, how powerful the bullet is, but obviously the cactus bullet doesn't have that information. It might actually be smarter to just give the cactus bullet a default value. That might actually be the smarter way to do this, rather than always adding cactus bullet and tree bullet collision things. That's probably the smart way to go. Yeah, let's see. Spawn score holder. Yeah, so what I need is to add this variable into the cactus and the tree bullets. And that should actually fix all of my problems when it comes to those. BL score multiplier. Well, it does look like it has its own BL score multiplier, though. What was the actual error that it gave me? What does it say it's missing? Oh, the bounces. BL bounces. Okay, so I need to have BL bounces in here too. So let's just add that in. Bounces 0. Just to give it a default. That way it knows what to do with it. And the tree bullet's just literally the cactus bullet, so that should actually solve that problem. And Pandabitz says, showing my brother my PC rendering a mic mesh at 4K, he's jealous. Ray trees. So, Pandabitz, you were mentioning before, I think you were working in 3ds and trying to get like the microphone kind of mesh look working. Did you figure out how to do that? Or did you switch to using like Blender or something else to get it done? So I know that was something you were working on. Turn invincibility on again. Get rid of the scorpions. And hopefully they'll fire a laser at me soon. There we go. We got a challenger here. I'm pretty sure it's going to work, but it's worth testing just to make sure there aren't any other problems that I don't know about. The problem is going to be getting an alien that has no shields and that also hits a cactus. So that's actually a challenge in itself. That should be a trophy. If this were an Xbox game, that would be a trophy. Or a PlayStation game, that would be a trophy. If it was an Xbox game, it'd be an achievement. Get my terminology right. Yeah, okay, well, I'm just gonna have to test it in the future, because it's probably going to be really hard to get the shield down and a cactus bullet to kill this alien. But I'm going to assume it works, but I'll throw a task up there to test that. So let's jump over here. Check. Cactus bullet hitting alien. Make sure this works. That's something worth doing. Okay. And Pandabitz is still working with 3ds Max. Tools don't seem to be there. If you look it up, yeah, busy experimenting. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it might be out there, but the time it takes to research it is probably not worth it because you want to move ahead on something. Makes sense. So let's see, another crazy combination. I think Pandabitz did mention after the break one combination here, so let's see if I can find it. Well, actually, Pandabitz, if you can help me out, if you did have a different suggestion for another challenge room before the break, if you can remind me what it is. Ah, bad cowboys fighting ghosts. Okay, there we go. Yes, you could have that happen. So let's do that. Oh, let's duplicate this room. Well, let's not duplicate this one. Let's not duplicate it again. Let's delete, delete, pick delete. There we go. Delete. Yes, delete. Okay, there we go. All right, let's have bad cowboys showing up in the graveyard. That makes the most sense, I think. Challenge 3. Boom. Let's get it in the right order there. All right. Theoretically, order doesn't matter in my case because I do jump to rooms, but in GameMaker sometimes if you do use something like next room, you have to be careful about the order that these things are actually in because it'll pick town boss, go to town 2, challenge 1, you know, it'll kind of do that. I do have it set up in an array so it doesn't do that. So let's see. Pretty much everything that I need is there. And it'd be a shame to have all the bumpers in the exact same places, so let's at least move those around just to get something different. Let's move the bell maybe over here. Have another bell maybe. Down here, because what's going to happen is the bad cowboys, when they shoot, if they hit a bell, they're going to suddenly get those ghosts angry, which means the ghosts are going to start charging at you, which is pretty interesting. That should actually be a really interesting combination. So let's see what happens. So that's challenge 3. Let's add that up here. Enemy spawn array, first off. Let's make that level 9. Well, let's see, that's the challenge room. How about for now, I comment this out now? Yeah, because the thing is right now I use 1 through 9 to jump to different rooms. So I guess what I should do is bump this up to 10, make this 11, and squeeze an extra one in there. Because right now, like 9 jumps to the game over screen, or the ending screen with the outhouse where everyone lines up. If you've seen that before, so I do need to squeeze one in between there. Let's see. First thing would be to have probably a ghost show up first, and a bad cowboy. Ghost. Ghost. Badder cowboy. Ghost. Badder cowboy. The trigger happy like battered cowboys are probably going to be more tricky on this level, so let's make sure we have plenty of those. Okay, and I'll keep the times as they are. Keep the same pattern going. So level 9, just have to remember that. Move that down. So global's persistent. So I do have to add more to the array in here. Level list 9, 3, and bump all these down. And just add 1 for the music. Right now there's no music, background music playing. 1, because I haven't made it yet, and 2, it'd be just kind of annoying to have it playing, so I've saved it more for the end. And let's see, 9 is going to have to be a night level, so I have to compensate for that inside of Room Manager. Room Start. It'd almost make more sense to put this into an array so that I have everything in kind of one place, but that's something for the future. 9. This is the Cowboys and Ghosts stage. And that is a dark stage, so there we go. That should work. Let's find out. And Jamorian says he's out, heading to a show. Good stream as always. Catch everyone later. Thank you for stopping by, Jim. And I should plug Jim as well because he does a lot of shows on Twitch as well. Does a lot of Kerbal Space Program. He also has a YouTube channel and stuff like that. Always great. Very laid back. So, if you don't like someone that's, chatting a million miles a minute like me or constantly cracking jokes or something like that, then it's, laid back, really gets into the game, goes into strategies and things like that. So it's really, really interesting. Also does Minecraft and things like that. So definitely check out his channel. Yeah, so Drew Crazy, if you do like Kerbal Space Program, definitely check out Jim Orian's Twitch feed as well as his YouTube channel. And Jim, enjoy the show tonight, Friday night over in the States, as opposed to Saturday morning here where there's no music going on anywhere. And I think you guys were chatting on about the bad Cowboys and stuff, so let me just check. And Pandabitz did send a link, so let me go to that actually before I play this. There we go, almost got it. Actually, let me type it in manually because I might screw up the chat thing. So, all right, http i.hinder.com so np 3nl. Yeah, these are definitely made to be clicked on. Oh, whoops. Well, I mistyped that. All right, let me just grab it from here. There we go. Oh, wow. Good job. Good job with the microphone. That is awesome. And you didn't have an actual mesh thing to work with to make that. Wow. Awesome. Very good job. Yeah, making that from 2D lines. Yeah, all right, that sounds like a lot of work. Okay, and I think I'm all caught up with the chat, so let's try it out. Let's try out that graveyard level. Assignment operator expected. Spawn array. Probably just a mistype on my end. Enemy spawn array. There it is, yeah. Bad cow. What am I missing? What am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? Am I just making this too big? Well, 0 equals that cowboy. Oh, it's fine there. I'm not sure. Maybe there was like some random like character that got squeezed into there somehow. 0.5. Alright, well, retyping it did it. Maybe you guys saw the problem, but I didn't notice it. So Pandabitz, going into his process, said you make 2D lines from a gradient and then do a lot of copying and pasting. Then you need to bend them around an axis, change their inclination and declination from vertex groups. It's fun. Whew. Yeah, that sounds like fun with quotes. It sounds like a lot of work, but it worked out because that microphone does look cool. Let's jump to level 9 here. Oh, I need to update the bumper array too. My bad. I need to do this one. Yes, okay, so else if global. Because none of those gravestones are showing up, so I need to get those to show up. I think I only had 2 bumpers in the room, besides the bell. Not graveyard building, tombstone. Yes, autocomplete for the win. Alright, RM obstacle. 1 equals tombstone. I think I only had 2. I hope. Unexpected symbol. Now what's going on? What the heck? Oh, okay, I see. I was missing the opening bracket. Alright, that'll happen. Those of you who've seen me code in the past know that I'm horrible with brackets and parentheses, so let me just double check the room here. Oh, there were 4 bumpers. Okay. So I need to make 4 tombstones. Alright. And Jim is actually still here. The show is 2 hours later than I thought, but it was a sneaky way of getting a plug. Well, since you're here, feel free to plug your channel and your show. Definitely throw a link to your YouTube channel, because there's a lot of great stuff up there. And I think someone in here, I think Drew did mention Kerbal Space Program, so people might be interested in checking those out. So definitely throw some links, plug yourself, because it's a good idea to have those links there for people. But yes, Jim's show deserves a plug, because he puts a lot of work into explaining things in Kerbal Space Program. Alright, level 9. What's going on now? Obstacle count. Obstacle count. Am I doing something wrong here? 0, 1, 2, 3. Random obstacle. Oh, array. My bad. Yeah, it helped to name the variable the right thing. And I do need to actually add this obstacle count thing in here. Get the array size. There we go. Could probably pull that outside of the switch statement, looking at it, but here we go. Let's try this again. 9. Alright, now all the tombstones are showing up properly. I put one right in front of the player, which is not a good idea. Need to move that up or something. So now we've got ghosts and cowboys on the same stage, which is going to cause all sorts of chaos. But you could potentially use the cowboys to your advantage, because if they're shooting a lot, they'll kind of keep the ghosts in place while you run around. The only problem is they're going to hit the bells when you don't expect them to. So the ghosts are going to suddenly start charging you, even though you're not expecting it. Up until now, you've always decided when the ghosts are going to be charging you, because if you hit the bell, they start charging you. And you've also got those bats to worry about, too. So if the bad cowboys start shooting the bells, bats are going to start streaming down and everything else. So it's a nice chaotic challenge room. Good suggestion. Okay, I think this one's working. This one's pretty clear. Not a lot of strange combinations with cacti bullets and things like that, so I think this one's working fine. Want to do one more challenge room here, and I think what this one has to be, because we talked about it last week, is Cowboys versus Aliens. Absolutely have to do that one. Let's not do this on an alien level. Let's actually do this on the town level. So let's copy the town level and say RM challenge 4. Okay. And move that down the list here. So we're going to do Cowboys versus Aliens. And Jim did throw up the links, so if you guys are interested, definitely go check that out. Jim's show is awesome. Gonna need to be crystals. Let's see. It might be interesting, actually, to have just one crystal in the middle of the room. Just as a change of pace. Let's get that. I need to get that move node out of there so enemies don't get stuck. Okay. 2470. Room challenge 4. Alright. Next challenge room. Cowboys versus Aliens. And we're going to squeeze that level in there too. Let's put it before this one so I can jump to it using the keyboard. So I'll move this one back. the only bumper is that one in the middle, so I only need the one. Enemy spawn array, let's bump that down. So this is now level 10. That's 11, 12. Okay, let's enemy array. So let's have an alien show up first. Badder Cowboy. Badder Cowboy. One more alien at the end here. Okay, that should be that. And that's level 9. Level 9 is also going to be a night level, so need to update that. Might be more accurate to say that level 10 is going to be a night level, because level 9 is still a night level. Actually, this is a day level, so no, I don't need to do anything for this. Okay, because it's in the town. Let's see if it works. Jump to level 9. And if it works, I think that'll be a good start on our challenge rooms. I still have bells and graveyards going on. Challenge 4. Did I? Oh, I forgot to update this. Okay. There we go. So actually 4 comes before 3. Cowboys versus ghosts versus aliens would have been interesting. But that's something for the future. Too bad I don't have pirate enemies, pirates and ninjas. Alright, let's see. Oh wow, horrible place for the bumper. That'd be an interesting challenge. The player can't move. Let's not put the bumper in the middle of the room. In fact, let's change it here too. While I'm at it, let's move this one up. Because the player starts in the middle, so I don't want to have a bumper right there. And let's move this one. A little down maybe. Maybe here. Okay. 2470. There we go. And Drew Crazy mentioned my computer wouldn't be able to handle games like such as Kerbal Space Program. Yeah, that's too bad because it's a very interesting game. It's way over my head. I should pick it up and actually go watch Jim's videos and actually learn how to play it properly. But in some ways, I actually have so much fun watching people play it that kind of gives me all I need. It's more entertaining to watch other people play it because they're more advanced than me. Because all I would probably do is blow my rocket up before it ever left the landing pad. Okay, well it does seem to be working. Let me turn invincibility on. Turned it on just in time here. The sun is dropping, so the enemies are picking up speed. It seems like the aliens would win this battle. Because they've got shields, but the poor bad cowboys do not. Ooh, nice explosion. Yeah, it seems like in most cases the aliens are going to be the ones that survive this battle. Although not too unbalanced. The aliens did only have 2 left by the end of it. Okay, well there we go. We got Cowboys versus aliens working. Yeah, and Pandabitz did mention my rig is in the description, so if you were to build something like that, you'd be more than able to. Just to give you some information, I did, let's see, let's cancel that. Let's let it play out, alright. I did build my computer for the first time like ever in my life. I wanted to do it, so basically I just picked up a kit to do it for the most part, so I cheated. But did build it. Cost, I'm in Japan, so it's hard to tell what PC prices are here versus the States. I'd imagine they're more expensive here. It was less than, obviously, $1,000 to do it, but it's probably cheaper in the States. But either way, yeah, computers are expensive, obviously. You know, it's not going to be a couple $100s. It's going to be, you know, several $100s to do that. So it's definitely understandable to not have be able to build a new PC. But I'm glad that you're watching the show. Thank you. I'm sure it's probably tough to watch it on Twitch if your PC is a little older, but yeah, I hope it keeps lasting because I'm with you. I've had computers for years and years and years that I've stuck with. For example, I've had a computer where I think I bought it back in like 2003 or something and kept going with it for about 10 years. So I'm the type of person that holds onto computers also. And Cirrus mentioned it's fun building computers. Built mine at 15. Yeah, it's something I always wish I could do, but well, Jim can attest to this. I've never been very good with, you know, handy stuff, even like fixing bicycles and trying to open up computer cases and even add memory and hard disks and things like that. I've always been terrible at it, so I was always worried I would break whatever I tried to make, which is probably accurate. I probably would have broken it. This time around, because I was using a kit and just took a whole weekend to do it, I did work out. So that is the challenge rooms. Thank you, Pandabitz, for the suggestions on making that, and thank you guys for the awesome chat. It was probably, for those of you watching the video later on YouTube, it's like, wow, this guy gets distracted really easily. And yes, you would be right, because I do get distracted really easily, but I'm having fun chatting with all you guys. Yes, Andrew Crazy mentioned some fan issues. Yeah, fan issues, if you can get that fixed, it'll help definitely extend the life of your computer. You know, for example, if you do have like money issues and you don't want to buy a new computer, definitely getting a fan issue fixed is a good idea because things just break down really quick if you don't have the fan working. And Cirrus mentioned the challenge rooms. They're nice, thank you. They're definitely interesting. You can see all the different possibilities. There's definitely more than, you know, the 4 I have here. You could have aliens versus ghosts. Snowmen haven't even shown up in the challenge rooms yet, so you could have aliens versus snowmen. Who knows what that would look like? So it'd probably be interesting, maybe before next week, to throw together a couple more levels, just to see how everything kind of interacts together. Throw everything in the blender, see what comes out. All of the challenge rooms so far have been kind of fun, even for me. Just it's very refreshing because you have to stay on your toes thinking about different enemies. Yeah, this has been awesome. Yeah, thank you, Pandabitz, for that suggestion. This is going to be fun. In terms of like the level design, right now I do just have, you know, one of each type of level, like the town level, the graveyard level, the desert level, the night level, the snow level, and then going back to the town for the boss. But leaving that one aside, I do only have one level for each type. But obviously in the future I do want to kind of expand that out so that there's an easy town level, you know, a medium town level, a hard town level, so that there's some kind of progression. Because like for example, when I did have like family by here and they were playing the game just for fun, you know, they're not gamers or anything, but when they were playing it, one thing I did notice was that quick, you know, change. Like the cowboy room they got, shooting cowboys made sense. You know, they ducked, all right, fine, and ducking made sense. But then jumping, you know, you win that room and you've learned all those skills about how to kill cowboys, and then all of a sudden you're in a stage with ghosts, and it's like that's a completely new thing that you have to worry about. So there needs to be, you know, kind of more of a steady progression there. Like for example, having 4 town stages and then a boss, or 3 town stages and then the town boss, and then 3 graveyard stages and then a graveyard boss, or something like that would probably make it easier a better difficulty curve for players. When they finally kind of mastered the skills that they need to kill bad cowboys, then they move on to the graveyard, and then make the graveyard level easy in the beginning, and then just kind of bump it up. It's probably going to be better, because right now the difficulty curve looks something like this. It's basically spikes. Each level is basically here, so essentially it's just a constantly difficult game. Obviously, for you guys, you're all gamers and you've seen kind of the game, so if you started to play it, you'd probably get it right away, and it would be more like, you know, this kind of difficulty for you guys. But for someone who's approaching it for the first time, you know, things are happening, bullets are bouncing off the side of the screen, they're hitting bumpers, it's like, whoa, how do I dodge, how do I shoot, things like that get confused here. Somehow manage to survive that level, only to go on to like a level where you can't shoot the enemies unless you hit a bell, and need to turn this into this. Because in most game design, this is usually the kind of difficulty curve you're searching for. Usually you want to start off pretty easy, get to kind of a peak, but you don't want to just do this, because that's actually boring. If it's just constantly getting more and more difficult, like, I know a lot of people love Oblivion, so I don't want to jump on it, but for example, like with Oblivion, the levels and the enemies leveled exactly with you all the time, so it never felt like you were getting more powerful. So that's part of the problem with doing just a straight, you know, difficulty keeps getting harder and harder and harder curve, is that the difficulty is always getting as hard as you're getting better. So it never feels like you're actually doing anything. It kind of feels like, well, foreign language class, for example. If you're taking a foreign language class, you're always presented with new problems, new information, new words that you don't know, new grammar that you don't know. So it always feels like you're never getting better at a language. But then when you step back and you look at it, it's like after a year, for example, you look back and it's like, wow, I actually know what these words mean. But because you're always presented with new stuff, you never feel like you're getting better at it. So that's the problem with a difficulty curve like this, because it just always feels like you're not getting better. So having a difficulty curve like this means it gets harder and harder and harder. You beat like a boss, for example, and then you kind of feel like, you know, a badass for a while, and then it gets harder and harder and harder, challenges you in new ways. You beat a boss and then you feel powerful again, and then you just kind of, you have these moments where you don't know what to do. It's really challenging. You get past it, you feel good about yourself, and then it gets harder again, and then this is usually the best way to go about making a game. It's what most games use. If you think about it, usually there are bosses scattered throughout the games, and usually what bosses do is challenge everything you've done so far. Best example of game design by numbers is Zelda. For example, well, even more than Zelda, there's other games that are even more clear about it, because Zelda does have adventure elements to it, so the difficulty curve isn't straight like that. But any game which has like 3 stages and a boss at the end of the stage is kind of relying on this difficulty curve. If you make it too static, one problem that happens is, like, for example, if you always make this 4 stages or whatever, that's actually something the player recognizes as a pattern. So that almost gets kind of boring in a way too, because they know, all right, I've beaten 3 stages, so all right, here comes the boss, you know. So if you do things pure by numbers, that can get kind of stale too. So what you can do is, a lot of game design is basically trying to figure out these curves. Like, then you might have a slow section here, and then just a couple of rapid sections like that. You know, just so players know, you know, they expect a boss to be coming here, but then the boss shows up a little earlier than they expect, so they're challenged and kind of thrown off their game. And here they're expecting a boss to come here, but none show up, so it's kind of like, what's going on? When's it going to show up? And you kind of have that dread going, especially with like horror games and things like that. Knowing when the boss shows up in a survival horror game is really boring, for example. So that's difficulty curve. So it's something I'm going to have to work on with this game too. So there we go. Mario 3, yes, there's a good example. It had that kind of feeling as being just ridiculously hard. Yeah, the Mario games are good examples of that because you do have that ramp up. There are 4 stages usually. For example, the old Mario games would be like 4 stages or worlds. Mario 3 actually had like a map that you went around, so it varied it. But Super Mario is actually, Mario Galaxy, any of the Super Mario Brother games are actually really good examples of ramping difficulty. Nintendo, there's a reason people love them for their games. They know what they're doing. They are probably, at least in Japan anyway, they're probably like the best, game designers here in terms of, thinking about games and logic and everything else, and kind of knowing those patterns and what makes players excited. But if you're making a game, hopefully that diversion kind of got you thinking about difficulty curves, because it's something I'm going to have to think about for Project Spaghetti. But that is enough chatting on my end. Let's jump over to the task list here. I don't know why I just favorited Google. Don't think they need to be favorited. So I do need to check if there's a way to turn off like the player's ability to shoot in a way that makes sense to the player. Cactus bullet hitting alien, I guess I do need to check that to make sure it works. But in terms of crazy challenge puzzle mode rooms, I think the way to do this is to say I've got... break this task into 3. Because with this, it's mainly just adding rooms, thinking of combinations, things like that. It's not really coming up with new features. So these tasks can all be just like part 1, part 2, part 3. But since you guys have kind of seen the process of going through this, probably not going to do another show with making crazy puzzle mode rooms, but if I do make more of these rooms, I'll definitely show those to you at the beginning of the show. Come on, save. Yes, there we go. So part 1, let's say part 1 is done, because I do have four excellent stages out of it, thanks to your guys' suggestions. So that is done. And we'll leave part 2 and part 3 for another day, probably over time, because it's going to be a lot of fun to put these together, really. And that was episode 41. If I can move it over here, there we go. And let's think about next week, episode 42. No title yet, obviously. Move list. Move it over to spot number 3. You jump back over here. So for next week, let's think about what we want to do here. Yes, and you guys are having fun with computer talk. I want to join in the chat, but I do want to wrap up the episode, so I'll jump in the chat after I wrap this episode up, so the guys on YouTube don't have to suffer through me jumping through computer talk and stuff like that. But let's see, episode 42. Switch dirt and sky to tiles. That might be an interesting thing to do, because in GameMaker, well, like you can see, what I'm doing right now with the rooms is I've got these gigantic backgrounds that are just dirt. It works, but there are things called tiles, and what you can do with tiles is you can have smaller sprites that you can combine and paste over things. In GameMaker, they actually work really interestingly, because you can use them to kind of paste over collision too. Like for example, if you have a top-down game, you can have floor tiles in the background. You could have just generic collision objects which serve as the collision for the game, and then you could kind of pop tiles on top of those so that it looks like there's like walls, for example. There are a lot of tutorials and stuff about tiles and things like that, but because having a giant field of dirt is kind of inefficient, I do want to kind of change those to tiles, as well as the sky too. So I want to try that. Let's see what else we've got here. Christmas level polished. Objects create glow at night. Weather effects. Okay, let's try this, because that kind of matches into this, like dirt and sky tiles and stuff like that. With weather effects, right now the stages are pretty flat because there's nothing going on in like the foreground layer, but you could imagine like the graveyard level having like wind effects or rain effects, the snow level, obviously snow falling down. You could imagine things like that, but that needs its own layer and stuff like that. So let's think about that for next week. So hope you guys are okay with that. Let's try that. And in the meantime, I'll probably do some of these tasks in overtime. I think that's a good place to stop. Now let me get the times here so I know how to tell you guys the times here. Thank you for watching the Game Development Show. Thank you to the new people like Drew and stuff who dropped by. I don't know if you've been watching it before and just never jumped into the chat before, but if this is your first episode, thank you for dropping by, and thank you to the rest of you who've dropped by. Pandabitz, Sirius, Bone Crusher, Jim, all you guys out there who dropped by, thank you. And you can catch past episodes and this one over at youtube.com, Tengu Studio. If you're watching this later on YouTube, come drop by the live show we do every week, because you get to join in the chat, and a lot of these like kind of diversions make a little more sense if you're seeing it live, because you've got the chat there with you. But I do put them up on YouTube for people who missed the episodes. But if you do want to catch us live, it's Twitch TV/BlueTengu. We do this if you're in the Americas, Fridays from 4 to 6 Pacific, after Daylight Savings Time, 4 to 6 Pacific, 5 to 7 Mountain, 6 to 8 Central, 7 to 9 Eastern. And if you're in the UK, it starts from 11 p.m. Friday night and goes to 1 a.m. Saturday morning, I think. I'm not sure about daylight savings times over there. It might be a little different, but you might want to be careful. If you're in Japan with me, it's just 8 to 10 a.m. Saturday morning. If you're in Australia, which is close to Japan in terms of time zones, it starts from 8 to 10, depending on where you live. And if you're in New Zealand, it starts at 11 a.m. Saturday morning. We do always announce what we're doing through Twitter. So like Bone Crusher mentioned, Twitch didn't send out an email saying when we were starting. So one probably easy way to do it is to follow us on Twitter. I know how it is. If you follow a lot of people on Twitter, it's hard to catch messages and things like that. I miss a lot of shows that way. But that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is probably just to be on Twitch, I guess. Maybe you'll get an announcement that we're starting. But follow us on Twitch or YouTube. That helps, I guess, to know when we're starting. And of course, you can see what we're up to anytime over at our site, bluetengu.com. Thank you for watching, and I'll keep chatting with you guys in the chat after this, but just want to sign off for the YouTube guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.